All right, writers, I want you to stop thinking that the publishing world owes you anything. And honestly, stop thinking readers owe you anything either. And I know that sounds harsh, but I actually think it's freeing once you kind of understand the situation, because I think writers think that because writing is so difficult, it should be rewarded. But difficulty alone doesn't guarantee anything. There's plenty of things that are difficult, and nothing in life is guaranteed. And because of that, I think writers tend to make themselves miserable because they treat the early years of writing like failure instead of what it actually is, which is training. I was thinking about this recently through the lens of sports. I was thinking about tennis, how like a professional tennis player is going to spend 90% of their career in practice, hitting hundreds of thousands of balls on a court when nobody else is there, and doing drills and conditioning and all that kind of stuff, all that repetition, and it's just all unseen. And nobody ever watches somebody, practice tennis for 6 years and says, wow, what a waste, you never made it to Wimbledon. But writers do this to themselves constantly. They write a novel, maybe 2, maybe even 3, and they start panicking because nothing's happened yet. But what if those books weren't meant to be your final destination? What if they were your training? What if they were your apprenticeship? I wrote 3 novels. I got an agent with my first novel, but I wrote 3 novels that never went anywhere. And it was 9 years with my agent before my first book finally showed up on the bookshelves. But I didn't look at those 3 novels and say, what a waste. I thought, I couldn't have written my published novel had I not written those 3. That was my education. That was my college. That was the MFA, where I just learned to write through practice and curiosity. Every book got me to the next book. And I can also tell you very clearly that it wasn't until my 8th novel, so 5th published novel, where I can look back now and say, that's my voice. That's the voice that I had to have 7 books to discover how to get to. Everything is a learning process. I think that's the part that a lot of writers don't want to hear, that, you still may be becoming the writer capable of writing the thing that you ultimately want to write. That process matters. Those invisible years spent toiling, they all matter. None of it is wasted, because you're building instincts, endurance, and emotional honesty. You're learning how to write dialogue that sounds real and true. And just because your books aren't selling doesn't mean it's failure. It's just the training. It's the apprenticeship. And once you stop demanding that every manuscript that you write justifies itself professionally, I guarantee you the writing becomes a lot more enjoyable. You relax a little bit. You stop pursuing this idea that you have to be published or you're going to give everything up. If you're a real writer, you're going to do it because you love it, and you're going to learn, and you're going to ask questions, and you're going to get feedback, and you're going to keep going. And most importantly, you're going to let go. You're going to learn to take a manuscript that maybe you spent 5 years on and say, I've done everything I can with this, and it didn't go anywhere except for shepherding me to get to the next manuscript. Because if publication is the only thing that counts, then I can guarantee you most of your writing life is going to feel terrible. I think the real goal early on is just to get better, to keep improving, to keep learning, to stay in the game long enough for all those invisible reps that you took in the shadows finally pay off. And that's how careers are built.